So this is a video saying the conscience is an internal system functioning. The conscience is an internal system functioning and can be noticed through introspection and takes place as an emotional dip or spike or negative or positive thinking. It can take place as one or the other or both. It manifests after an action has been produced or a situation arises. It can be immediate as an effect and can be linked to issues that are long-lasting. If someone produces a negative action, he feels a lowering of emotions. Example, as a heaviness taking place, heaviness in the eyes, or negative thinking as negative rumination or resistance about the issue. Example, negative thoughts about a subject matter. This signifies an internal system signaling of conscience issues. It can be remediated if the individual acts and corrects the issue at hand. He needs to act appropriately to cancel the negative action that was produced. Example, apologizing for the issue or acting opposite the initial action. This remediates the emotional dip or negative thinking and removes the heaviness in the emotions and negative rumination or resistance about the issue. If someone produces a positive action, he feels increase of emotions. Example, a positive lightness in the body, slight elation, or positive thinking such as thinking positively about the subject. This signifies a positive conscience signaling raising the emotional state of the individual and increasing positive thoughts about the subject afterwards. This is an internal system functioning which denotes an alteration of the emotional state and thinking of the individual, which needs to be upheld to maintain a proper emotional and mental state. If the individual produces positive actions at all times and watches for negative conscience issues and increases positive conscience instances, a positive mood should be generated through time. However, not all actions are felt the same way in the conscience at all times. Some of the time actions are not always felt or are felt with more intensity. This can depend on various factors such as the intention, deservefulness, or intensity of the action. Always note that actions need to be positive at all times independent of the conscience. Sometimes actions are habit-based and cannot be felt as a dip or spike since they are continuously produced. An alteration of habitual actions is more so felt compared to habit-based actions. As an example of a negative conscience issue, this can arise if an individual disrespects someone else. And as an example of a positive conscience instance, this can take place if an individual helps someone out. The conscience is a gauging element and is not the only thing to take into account. Positive actions need to be produced independent of the conscience. Actions also have an impact on others, as negative actions produced towards others dip the emotional system and instates negative thoughts for the individual producing the action. It also dips the emotional system and instates negative thoughts for the individual on who the action was produced. However, it dips more for the individual producing the negative action than for the individual on who the negative action was produced due to the conscience's influence of negativity. It is more ephemeral for the individual on who the negative action was produced. This creates a conscience issue for the individual producing the negative action and also for the individual on who the negative action was produced. To remediate the issue, the individual that produced the negative actions need to apologize, and the individual on who the action was produced needs to step his foot down in a passive manner and not accept that behavior. Each individual that deals with the issue can remediate the conscience issue irrespective of the other. However, not all actions towards others are felt the same way in the conscience. Some of the time, negative actions are not always felt negative or are negatively felt with more intensity. This can depend on various factors such as the intention, deservefulness, or intensity of the action. Always note that actions need to be positive at all times independent of the conscience. So thank you. Bye-bye.